Hello, hello, and welcome to another forecast. And this is for the new moon in Taurus 2025. And it is a super moon at that. So, a super moon just means that the moon is closest to the Earth. So, I have set the date for 27th of April at 9:30 at night for South African time by EST, not EST, GMT. It is 7:30. um, I just wanted to point out that this same day is the final Mars-Pluto opposition, but I'll get into that in a little bit more detail in a moment. But it's earlier in the day than this lunation is going to take place. So one more thing to remember is that um, the moon loves to be in Taurus. It's one of her favorite places to be. So she is in Taurus for this lunation, and she is extremely happy there. Sorry, I see that there's subtitles coming up that I wasn't expecting, and they just threw me there for a moment. Okay, so let's begin. This new moon is at 7 degrees and 46 minutes of Taurus. So if you have any planets or points in the first decan, the first 10 degrees of Taurus, or any of the fixed signs, remember that the fixed signs are, and you will see them, they'll be at right angles to each other or opposites. So Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, Aquarius. Okay, so if you have any planets or points in the first decan, the first 10 degrees of any of the fixed signs, this is going to be more pertinent to you, including your really stubborn, resistant traits that you are struggling to shift. Those might get pushed. And it's going to be extra. I'm in one of my posts, I've referred to it as a stubborn off, because fixed signs can be known for their stubborn, fixed, rigid way of handling the situations. And you will have a fixed earth, a fixed fire, a fixed water, and a fixed air. And each of those elements will fixate in different ways. And so, therefore, they will be stubborn in their own personal flavor, which will not be what the other ones like. So, Taurus is fixed earth, very stable and steady and reliable. I mean, when we're talking about gritty, reliable, consistent, great. But when it's like, I refuse to budge, and a good catchphrase for Taurus is, don't push me, because Taurus will not be pushed, they will not be moved. I love to bring up Ferdinand, the cow, for this, or the bull, for this analogy of Taurus, because he's this gentle, sensual being who loves to just be in the sunshine underneath his favorite tree, noshing on the daisies and dandelions that grow in his paddock. And he's not a red rag to a bull kind of bull, but they wanted him to be a bullfighting bull, and he wasn't really interested until he accidentally sat on a bee one day in the field, and then went running around like a lunatic because of the pain. And then the farmer was like, "Oh, I knew you had it in you," because he was this beautiful, huge stud of a bull, but he wouldn't fight. And anyway, after seeing him behave after sitting on the bee, he put him into the bull ring, and Ferdinand was not interested, because unless he has reason to lose his rag or to behave like that, he's not going to. And I think this is something about Taurians, is that they do have those bull-like tempers if pushed, but they actually are more peace-loving. Venus ruled, in fact. So this is a good way to understand Taurus. But if you try to push a bull to do something faster than they're ready to do, or to be aggressive if they're not feeling aggressive, or to do it your way, it's a hard no. So that's Taurus energy in general. So here we have this new moon in Taurus. New moons are those seed planting times. Sun and moon are together in the sky. And we have a T-square to this new moon, which is when you have two planets at 90 degrees from the new moon. And those two planets are then opposite one another. Okay, so a T-square is very much this like pressure to change. And oftentimes we would look at the empty fixed point. So if we have something in fixed Earth, we have Sun and Moon in fixed Earth, we have Mars in fixed fire, we have Pluto in fixed air. What do we not have? We don't have anything except Black Moon Lilith, but we'll leave her out for the context of this Otherwise, it might just get a little complicated. So we have nothing in fixed water, which is Scorpio. So that is almost like the place that you can look to diffuse or to heal this stubborn kind of situation that we're having for this lunation. But I just wanted to get a little more into a little more detail about this Mars Pluto opposition, because a Mars Pluto opposition is a very challenging aspect. And because Mars has just done a retrograde, which doesn't happen very often, only every few years, it means that he's actually made this opposition with Pluto 3 times. Normally, every 2 years, Mars will pass the opposite point to Pluto, and there will be one Mars Pluto opposition every 2 years. But because of the retrograde and where it happened, he has gone backwards and forwards over that opposition. This is the third pass. So I wanted to just let you know, if you are somebody who loves to look back and reflect when the previous dates were, it would be very good to look back at the 3rd of November. You can bump that out a few days either side. The 3rd of January, again, bump it out. And then this day, earlier this same day, on the 27th of, what is this, April. Yes, this is a good time to look and see what the theme is. So what I would say is that in the November point, that was the first pass, and something might have triggered then. That was challenging. Remember that Pluto is all around transformation and power struggles. And Mars is like the toddler that's also trying to keep his own power. I mean, think about toddlers. They're finally kind of figuring out a certain level of autonomy. They can say no, they can stomp their feet, they can throw a tantrum. And so there's this level of the toddler, and then the wise old grandfather Pluto, who is just going to wait it out because he knows that the toddler is going to get over their drama quicker, and he has a bigger level of patience. So if there's a power struggle between Pluto and Mars, Mars is coming off second best. However, it's a power struggle either way you look at it. And so you would be looking at the inner toddler perhaps in you, or the inner aggressor in you, because Mars can be aggressor or warrior even, not I'm worried, but like go to battle type of warrior. And then Pluto is this real deep dive into the shadow and into the underworld, and making big things small and small things big, and making transformation that must be made, and usually demanding some sort of sacrifice you don't want to sacrifice. So let's say, if we're using that analogy of the old man and the toddler may have gone into the cupboard and taken out a whole bag of sweets, and that Pluto knows that Mars cannot eat the whole bag of sweets. It's nearly supper time, and he's going to bounce off the walls. And so he's going to have to get Mars to sacrifice the sweets, or he will take the sweets forcibly from Mars. It's going to be easier if Mars makes that decision himself and says, okay, Grandpa Pluto, here are the sweets. And Pluto will then be able to say, now that you've so willingly sacrificed those sweeties, after dinner, I will give you some sweets. Whereas if Pluto has to forcibly take them away from Mars, then it would be more punitive, and I'm taking these away and there will be no dessert after dinner, that kind of a thing. So there is usually a sacrifice required. There is usually some kind of power struggle. And so if you look back to what was going on with you in the 3rd of November last year, 2024, you're going to get a feel of what was the theme coming up. So, I mean, for me, the theme was super duper clear. Then, if you look at the 3rd of January, you might see that there is a resurge of that same theme from November. But that was the retrograde pass. So that might have been almost the more uncomfortable one. So the thing may have shown up on the 3rd of November, and you might have got a little uncomfortable, or very uncomfortable, but it passed and you thought you were done, and you were like, okay, I dodged a bullet. Then the 3rd of January came and you were like, oh, I did not dodge a bullet. It's come back to bite me even harder because I didn't sacrifice the thing, or I didn't address it completely. And now I'm really feeling it. And now here we are in the 3rd pass. We get to say, how am I doing with this? Have I sacrificed? Have I learned the lesson? Can I see the rewards of the sacrifice that I was forced to make? Yeah, that kind of thing. Okay. Sorry, I've got a bit of a dry throat, and I usually put water right here, but I didn't. So I'm actually going to grab my water. 1 second. Okay, sorry about that. Mm. So I feel like this Pluto-Mars opposition at this lunation, which is a supermoon, the moon is closer to the Earth. She's making a bigger deal about something because when she's closer, we can feel her more. She controls the tides. By molecular count, we're like 99.9% water. So if the moon can impact the body of water on the Earth, move the entire ocean, what is she doing inside of your own body? So things will be feeling a lot. The lucky thing, as I say, is the moon is very happy in Taurus. So from the moon's perspective, she's saying, keep your emotions grounded, stay in your body, experience what you're experiencing, and use your sensory system, because Taurus rules the sensory system, to calm yourself and regulate yourself. So aromatherapy would be a great one to do, or eat things that are comfort foods while you're going through the big feels, but do address them. Taurus is also the neck and the throat. So speak it out. Do not bite down, jaw, teeth. Do not bite back, hold back. Find a way to let it out. If it's in your journal, if it's with a close friend, if it's with a certain person where there is actually a conflict, whatever it is, it needs to be shifted and moved. Don't get stuck. Don't get stubborn and resistant in it. You will find that coming up. It will for sure come up. But can you manage it to a degree? Okay. So then we're still very, very much dealing with all the late Pisces energy, early Aries energy. You can see that the planets are starting to open up. So Neptune is still at zero, almost at 1 degree, 0 degrees in 59 minutes, almost at the first degree of Aries now. You can see that Venus is a few days off re-entering Aries. Mercury is already in Aries, moving out of shadow. He's out of shadow actually at this point. He's finally got his momentum. He's clear-headed again. He's charging ahead. He's in the warrior sign of Aries. Mars ruled Aries, charging ahead. Of course, all of these planets that are in Aries are being ruled by Mars, who is that toddler having a power struggle with Grandpa Pluto. So they are also feeling it. They're all in fire. So Mars is in fire in the first decan, and they're all in fire. So that means that Mars is trying to support these planets, and they are trying to support him because that's the trine. But there is this difficulty because Pluto is still he's holding the toddler on that, those walkers that toddlers get taken out on sometimes, so they can't run too far, like a harness. Yeah, so Mars is a little inhibited, and that will impact all of these planets, including Chiron over here. And then all of the Pisces, we've got the North Node in Pisces, which has just had a full conjunction with Saturn, but they've moved beyond each other now. Saturn is moving forward, and Mars is not Mars. The North Node is moving backwards, so they've passed each other, but they're still within range. So we're still feeling the karmic need to do our work. Saturn says, do your work. And the North Node says, this is where you're meant to develop. In fact, in my chart, my North Node and Saturn are conjunct in my chart. So if somebody born on this day would have the same thing. And that's basically saying wherever it is and what sign it is would obviously impact it, but it's saying you are karmically, because Saturn can be a karmic planet and the North Node is a karmic point, you are karmically required to be disciplined to develop your soul's urge or drive. In whatever case, like in my case, it would be in the first house in Virgo, but in this case, it would be in Pisces. We would say something different. We would change the flavor depending in what house, etc. That's just for you to look in your own chart for things like this. I don't want to dive too deeply into that. So we still have Pisces, Aries energy very strongly that we're going to be working with in the short term, because in terms of some of the planets like Mercury, who's moving on, Venus won't take long to move on. There's going to be a very ongoing story between Saturn and Neptune here. And the node is moving back now, won't come back to Aries for a long time. He's going to get more distance from there. And Chiron is right near the end of Aries, so we won't include him too much. But you can see this is still going to be something because of Saturn and Neptune that's going to influence us strongly into next year. And also the nodal axis is still now gone from North Node in Aries to North Node in Pisces, which means the eclipses are still happening in the Pisces Virgo axis now. Excuse me. Oh, a very dry throat at the moment. So basically, I wanted to just show you the dates one more time. I opened the charts. So you can go in and look for those charts. This is the date where we had the first Pluto-Mars opposition. And that one, what I wanted to say about that was before Pluto fully moved into Aquarius. It was 29 degrees and 45 minutes of Capricorn, Mars in Cancer. So one of these oppositions, the first one was in Cancer Capricorn, and the other two are in Leo. Okay, so that's that chart, just for you to have an understanding a little bit. I know that this is a bit complicated if you don't know how to read a chart, but for those who do, and you can go look up the dates. And this one's the 3rd of January when we had Pluto at 1 degree and Mars at 1 degree Leo. And then I'm just going to show you earlier in the same day. So we were just looking at the 27th of April chart, but this is earlier in the same day at 3 degrees 47 minutes of Aquarius for Pluto and Leo for Mars. We had that opposition. At the point of this exactitude, the moon was still in Aries, just pointing that out as well, hadn't moved into Taurus yet, which it obviously has by this new moon. Okay. And I think that's all I'm going to really focus in on. One more thing is that Jupiter is widely, but still squaring the nodes. So Jupiter is in Gemini in a mutable sign, 20 degrees. The nodes are 25 degrees of Pisces and Virgo. So Jupiter is also pushing communication, because he's in Jupiter, around karmic patterns, which I feel really ties into this like power struggle, this drama that we have. Drama. It does feel a bit like drama that we have going here. He's kind of pushing us to speak our truth. He's pushing us to get beyond certain patterns that are no longer serving us. And remember Pluto's whole thing about sacrifice. If you sacrifice that little treasure that you stole from somebody else, I will take you down into the underworld where I have all the treasures, caves and caves full of treasures, rubies and diamonds and gold that you could want. But you need to make the responsible karmic choice, soul choice. So all of that is like really quite loud. The being a warrior of light, being ready to shift into a new paradigm. And then the whole time, the Taurus new moon and the Taurus sun and moon just holding us anchored in our bodies in this human experience, because there's all this stuff. And I don't think there's a person out there that hasn't been experiencing it. But all this stuff, we are still having a human journey. And even though what's going on in the world is bigger than just you or me, even though it's bigger than even humanity, we are in human bodies having human experiences. This is a soul journey, yes. Our souls are eternal, yes. But right now we're in a body. So stay connected to your body. Use your sensory system. Speak your truth. Taurus loves pleasure. Do what brings you pleasure. Okay, I'm going to call it quits at that. So thank you very much for watching, for listening. And I appreciate all your comments, likes, shares, and subscribes. And I will be back for another forecast for our next full moon. Thanks again for watching.